Good morning. Welcome to another day of leadership and life tips. So, we've been talking a lot about positive things. We've been talking about mistakes, which happen, but we've also been talking about growth mindset. We've been talking about intrinsic motivation, which was yesterday, and just finding that motivation within to make changes. And so, I thought today I would talk about stories. And one thing that we're all usually pretty good at is the stories that we tell about ourselves. And what I mean by that is we have stories that we've had our whole life. Things like, I just can't lose weight, I've tried and it just doesn't work. I just can't get that new job, I've tried, I've sent out resumes and it just never seems to happen. I really want to clean my house, but I'm just a messy person, I'm just not going to change. So these are the stories that we have lived with and have followed us through our life. And what happens is we get stuck, right? And sometimes fear that we've talked about before, the F word, gets in the way of us really making changes. You have control of so many things in your life. And oftentimes what I see happen for people, and especially leaders, is we don't exercise the control that we do have. The decisions that we can make, the thoughts we can have, and the feelings and emotions that we can have as a result of an experience. So stories kind of churn over and over again. And I know people that get in this storytelling mode and they tell the same stories over and over and over again. And it's almost like they just lean on these things. And in a lot of ways, it just becomes toxic. You can always change your story. And there's two things that are really important to help you change your story. The first one is how you talk to yourself. And I've mentioned the little inner critic that sits on your shoulder that whispers these things like, I'll never lose weight, you're just always going to be overweight. I'm always going to have a messy house, I'm just a messy person. Those are the little stories that your little inner critic tells you, the little guy sitting on your shoulder. But you can always change that. Hey, I've been trying to lose weight, I just haven't done it yet. And here's what I need to do. I need to go through my kitchen and I need to get rid of all the unhealthy stuff. When I go to the grocery store, I'm only going to buy those things that I know are healthy for me and good for me so that I only have those choices when I'm home. Things like that. I can do this. Telling yourself, I can do this. I remember when I was growing up, my dance teacher had an I can't jar. And at the time, it was a long time ago, we'd put in a nickel or a quarter or something every time you said, I can't do a double pirouette, or I can't do this. She'd say, put some money in the jar, because it really made us think about, yikes, I don't want to have to pay if I say the word I can't, so I can do this. So the first thing is just really how you talk to yourself. Positive self-talk can take you far, and that's really one of the first steps to changing your story, right? I can do this. I can totally do this. Whatever it is, I've got this. And the second part is the action piece. And that's the part, of course, everyone sets goals early in the year. We're already almost to the end of the month. And we have all these great, resolutions and goals for the year. How many of you are still sticking with those? That's why it's a little crazy to do these at the beginning of the year, because sometimes it sets us up for failure. Set goals and things all throughout the year. Those are the action steps. You always want an action step plan, a little roadmap. Like, if you want to lose weight, how are you going to do that? Eating, exercise, all these things are parts of that. Chunk it out in smaller bits. Where I see people fail is trying to do too much all at once. And then it doesn't happen, we get discouraged and we give up. So stories are things that are really important with those two pieces. The positive message that we tell ourselves and taking action on those things. Positive self-talk it can just take you miles and miles. So I want you to think about, as a leader, where have you gotten stuck in a story? Whether it's, I've always led this way. This is the way I've always managed a team. This is the way I've always made decisions around budget. Look at all those things. Again, jot things down. I'm a big fan of writing things out because you can actually see it. It's not just floating around in your head. Sometimes we have more floating in our head than we realize. Jot those things down and look at what stories have you told yourself consistently through the years, maybe through the decades, and what can you do to change the wording that you use and how you talk to yourself, the I can versus the I can't, and what steps can you take to really change that story. Create a new story. We all have a past, we all have history. Now is the time. What are you going to do today to rewrite your story? All right, make it a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.